thank our educators and families for all they do for our students to make them successful. I'm going to ask for this. That's okay. I'm going to ask for the assistance of Commissioner Campbell and Commissioner Davis. We are going to call each student's name, pass out the certificates, and then we are going to take photos of the students together, then students and educators, then students individually, and then students and their family, or something like that. Melza Mata Lopez from Brown Pierce Elementary. A mature student. Ellie Fawcett, Children's Reading Center Charter School. Brooklyn Maples, Hillcrest Academy.
Yes,
Riley Friday, James A. Long Elementary. It's okay. Peyton Mullis, Maryland Learning Center Pre through K. Garrett Pollard, a Mellon Learning Center K through 12. Mara Tolatino, Mosley Elementary. Madison Morris, the December Student of the Month from Palatka Junior Senior High School. Aaliyah Hill, the January Student of the Month from Palatka Junior Senior High. Payson Bradford, the February Palatka High Student of the Month. Seth Hale, Peniel Baptist. Tegan Hancock, Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences. Joanne Matthews Trailer, Putnam Classical Academy. Andre LaKibbe Biddle from Little South. Thank you, everybody. Now we'll do our little photo shoot. That person.
Go up there. Come up there. Step up. So we're gonna come. And very nice. All right, here we go. All right, and we're looking right at me. Next, anyone else? Hold on, yeah, hold on.
There you go.
Big fruit today. This is anything. Okay. Smile, Aaron.
Did we get a smile?
Big smile. Thank you. Now, individual there. All right, so, you may not be. All right. Gonna try and take. And everyone's to see that. Inside, here's a second. We have any sitting upon? I want to. Do we have any? I'll go get mine. She's gonna plaster you all up. So much.
I was trying to get in there. I was trying to get in there.
Daniel, you can take a picture. Daniel. Daniel. I was trying to tell you, you can take a picture with him. That's all.
Yeah, right. But I think she's got. Yeah, she's got.
You love her.
Yeah. Push yourself.
Good, how are you? You're not, I'm not. You're not. You're not. Other than- but I'm- Am I going up?
Yeah, because.
There we go.
No, you're good, I got it. Nice to meet you. I'm glad you individual parents who come up and say that again. Two of us, and then you. Okay.
They'll do individuals and then the family.
Okay, family want to come up? Yes.
Yeah.
Glad you're here to see me tonight. Oh, 3 times. Thank you.
Thank you.
They'll go first and then
Can I get
Okay. I'm gonna call it, you must join.
Alright.
He said he didn't know ever.
Well, you don't have a like, has it, but I don't know who has it. I know I don't. Yeah, maybe please.
I'm not a good invitation. Now, if I keep it, Commissioner Davis. Did they get you some, like, up to the
Yes, I got. So I did. And, but I just.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what you get it, are you going
I got it from,
Yeah, I was going.
How are you?
my pantry, that's what you do. You doing all right? Good to see you.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm looking, I really haven't done any stuff. Well, you know, inspection. Like that.
It's all.
Not yet, but this next month, I'm gonna start hitting.
Yeah, I need the time, you gotta just talk. No,
Oh,
no,
no.
that's too early. Well, that's good. They give me an opportunity to maybe even catch up because I haven't fished in about a year or something. I've been kind of pegged down to the hip, man. I haven't had a chance to come up for options.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but,
Hey, it takes time for you.
I got to.
March.
Hey,
Get ready, March.
I'm trying to free up some time.
I'll see you out there in the creek. It's good to see you.
All right, take care. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna solve the out well. I can't drink from, you know, the fresh water.
Right.
Fresh water, no, I that's all I used to do with fresh water, but, you know, wine, salt water fishing. There's nothing like magic.
He's excellent. I mean, since he's been back here, he's been doing some, then he wanted to do both.
Yeah,
This. I don't, let me not put my plate into the corner, but what I am gonna say is, I did recommend, so you might join a boat club.
yes,
We are staying, but I didn't charge that.
we did.
I'm trying to.
You got a USB? Do you have a USB? If you got a USB, I got a,
Oh, you, let's see if I got my board in here.
um,
I have. I don't wanna have no ultra problem. You want cold or warm?
even one of
Or
these.
not warm?
I can take one of these.
Is that, okay, somebody can have. it. I love my cup, but. I don't feel it, but so there's this, I'll do it now, I'll plug it in. What do you call it? A boat club. So we I just, all of this, we just, it's an antiquated building with. I'll make sure.
I'm good. We're gonna see. Or you think it'd be better to try to just manage it like that?
I'm gonna put it here.
Give a warning.
Wow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka City Commission Agenda Meeting on February 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Calling this meeting to order, we're going to start with an invocation by Pastor Mulberry and Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Bohr.
Father, we thank you. We praise you. We give you glory and we give you honor. Thank you for your goodness towards us. We thank you for how you blessed us all day long. You kept us, Lord. You sustained us. It was you that did it. And we say thank you. We pray your blessing upon this staff, every leader, capacity. We ask God for the wisdom that is necessary to judge such a council. Pray that will be done in this place. God, to move this city in the right directions. We thank you for every leader. We ask for your help in all that we undergird to do for your glory. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk, please. Present.
Mr. Davis, present. Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Mr. Wilcox.
Present.
Present.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read and review January 9, 2025 minutes, January 23, 2025 workshop minutes, and January 23rd, 2025 minutes?
Motion to approve minutes as printed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. On to public recognition in the spotlight. Employee of the month, Ms. Jones.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity as we move into year 3 of recognizing our employees. Tonight, we will be recognizing 2 employees for January, one for January, one for February. The first one would be Norris Lockhart. And the second one would be Carlos Dominguez.
I'll start with you since you're here.
I'd like to recognize and congratulate Norris Lockhart for being named Employee of the Month. Norris is the epitome of reliability and dedication, always going above and beyond in his role as the janitor for the city. His consistent hard work and attention to detail ensure our environment is clean, safe, and welcoming. What sets him apart even more is his ever-present smile and his positive attitude. He's not only dependable, but also incredibly kind and helpful. Always ready to lend a hand or offer a friendly word. We're lucky to have him on the team. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you.
I would like to say a couple of words too. Every morning, I don't know, I'm always here early. And Mr. Carlos over here, Mr. Norris is always here with a pleasant smile, always saying good morning, and I mean good morning. So we have this good morning thing going on between the two of us. We have some great conversations, and he deserves every bit of this recognition. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. But you. Well, Carlos, oh my, oh my, oh my. Ooh. Carlos is, oh, he's so, I don't know what to say about Carlos. It's like, he's extremely diligent. He's very committed, very focused, listens to whatever you're talking about. Go and investigate what he does not know. He goes back years so that he can have perspective. And then he goes out to all the projects. And yesterday, we noticed that he understood every project. And so we have had 60 projects. Now we have 52. And Carlos is on top of all of them. We are finishing. I think we got about almost 8 scheduled to be done by next month. So he is very a great asset to our city. We're very happy, easy to work with. And now I'm going to let you say, I did not nominate him, so you say who nominated. I'm just saying how good he is. Okay. All right, go.
Jackie had nominated him. She wrote something nice, but she couldn't be here tonight. So if you don't mind, I'll just read it.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Wonderful. It's with great pleasure that we nominate Carlos Dominguez for Employee of the Month in recognition of his outstanding contributions since joining the city as a project grants manager in October of 24. The grants department faced a challenging situation when 3 key personnel, including the project manager, grants administrator, and assistant city manager, left within 3-month period. This created a significant void in the department that is crucial to the city's operations. As the grants division secures funding in essential projects that fall outside the city's budget, Carlos quickly familiarized himself with all the ongoing projects, like I said, and took swift action to address any gaps. His dedication and understanding each project, unique requirements, and his efforts to build relationships with the city staffs, engineers, contractors, and everybody else. Carlos is a reliable, hardworking team member who has demonstrated remarkable resilience and resourcefulness during a challenging transition period. His exceptional performance is such a critical role, deserves recognition, and we are proud to nominate him as Employee of the Month.
All right.
Oh,
No, you're fine. It's all good. Thank you.
Question about Employee of the Month. Are we as commissioners permitted to nominate an employee for Employee of the Month? Human.
Yes, sir.
We are.
Yes, you can.
Just want to know.
Okay.
Great feeling, though, when you can nominate somebody.
Can you pull up my
Okay,
PowerPoint,
thank you.
please?
We're going to go on to city manager and administrative reports, legal department, 2025 legislative special session update.
City attorney has found it necessary to bring all of us and politics and understanding
That's good.
where we are.
That's, I think, a good thing. Go ahead, Ms. West.
Thanks. And my laptop's about to die, so bear with me here. This is a brief preview of what's about to happen in the legislative session. That the regular session starts on March 4th. We've already had 2 special sessions and going to have another one at the end of February. So that's kind of a record, having 3 special sessions before the regular session. There's a lot of showdown. It's a very different era in Tallahassee right now because Governor DeSantis is no longer running for president. You no longer have the supermajority Republicans in the House and Senate really supporting him in the way that they have in the 6 years past. So it's a different fractured dynamic and he's not getting his way on everything. So that's something to keep an eye on as we move forward in this session. We also have a more limited budget. So we need to keep that in mind as we're looking towards allocations. Next slide, please. One thing that is certain is both the House and Senate and the governor are all trying to make President Trump very happy. And because immigration is a top priority for President Trump, they have come out with Senate Bill 2B, which is tackling and reforming unlawful migration policy, also known as the Trump Act. And this is going to affect the city of Palatka because it's going to mandate our local government cooperation. We must fully cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, and there will be penalties if we don't at the local level. Also, there's going to be an allocation of $100 million to reimburse local law enforcement agencies for hiring and retaining officers. So that could be a potential boon to our Palatka Police Department, but there are penalties if we don't comply. So something to keep on your radar. Next slide, please. There are going to be a ton of bills this legislative session that try to address the affordable housing crisis that is hitting, quite frankly, the entire nation. So this particular bill, Senate Bill 184, sponsored by Senator Don Gates from the Panhandle, the father of Matt Gates, requires local governments to adopt an ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units. You're going to see this later on in your agenda package, and to provide for some creative financing options for families. Next slide, please. We're going to have another preemption bill. We see them every legislative session, and this is going to prohibit us from adopting or enforcing any legislation that inhibits the construction of housing for legal verified agricultural workers. Next slide, please. Another affordable housing bill. This one is kind of duplicative of the last one, a couple of different tweaks, but again, it's going to mandate that we have an accessory dwelling unit ordinance at the local government level. Next slide, please. In case you haven't noticed, all of these bills have been sponsored by Republican lawmakers, which means that they probably have a good chance of passing. We've already are in the midst of committee weeks, and a lot of these bills have already had 1 or 2 or even 3 hearings before the committees. So food insecure areas, sponsored by Representative McFarland, authorizes local governments to enact land development regulations to permit for land use for small print grocery stores in food deserts. So kind of a creative issue that we might be able to take advantage of here in Palatka. Next slide, please. Senate Bill 80 is the State Park Preservation Act. You may recall last year where there was a lot of hubbub over Governor DeSantis's proposal to make our state parks into golf courses and hotels and so forth. This coming out of South Florida, Jonathan Dickinson area, Senator Gail Harrell is sponsoring this bill along with locally Senator Jennifer Bradley. That would prohibit such a transformation of our state parks. I mention this only because we do have a state park within our jurisdiction. Next slide, please. Resilient buildings. This is one to watch, sponsored by Senator Anna Rodriguez. It defines what a resilient building is, and it allows for specified tax credits. Next slide, please. House Bill 287 is the building and plumbing permit for the use of on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems. This allows cities to issue building and plumbing permits when owners or builders have applied for septic tank permits, rather than requiring them to wait until those permits are issued. So it's a little bit of a kind of streamlining the permitting process, but something to keep in mind. We usually do require water and sewer hookup, but there are parts that still have septic, so we need to keep this in mind. Next slide, please. I promised I would keep it short. There is one other bill that I'd like to bring to your attention. It's Senate Bill 182, sponsored by Tom Leek, and it is basically prohibiting the demolition of historic structures, which would have a significant impact here in Palatka. I know that that's a priority for some of you. Yes, Commissioner Campbell.
I want to personally thank you for bringing this to the forefront. Last year, we noticed that you brought this to our commission meeting, and it not only keeps us in the loop, but it keeps our citizens in the loop. And it makes us knowledgeable when we go for legal, for rural county days, and when we go for the various trips that we take to Tallahassee, that we're already knowledgeable of what's going on. So again, I thank you for bringing this to us and our community. And I would like to see if you can work with Peter to have some kind of put this on our website as things to watch for this legislative season that may affect us here locally in Palatka. So I really thank you for bringing this to us.
Thank you, Commissioner. My pleasure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
So moving on.
City manager, verbal discussion, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So moving on, following the city attorney, just want to remind the commissioners that we did submit successfully our legislative priorities. And that was for the potable water, $7 million, for transportation, 3.3 million, and for homelessness, 5 million. So those have been submitted to our lobbyists for hopefully funding. Hank Bryant Park, the bathroom, could you put the pictures up, please? Is almost completed. The dog park and, okay, Shaw Buck Park, both are waiting for the grantor to approve all that has been sent. So there's the Hank Bryant Park bathroom. And letting you, Carlos is here. You can, when do you expect it to be complete, please?
Good evening. First of all, I want to say thank you. I was not expecting that Employee of the Month. Thank you for the city of Palatka for welcoming me to this city. Just, trusting just a kid from a little small island called Dominican Republic. So I really appreciate that. I'm keep learning. I have learned a lot from you commissioners, from the citizens, from my coworkers. So I just want to say thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So
Thank you.
thank you. The hang Bryant restrooms, they're supposed to be done by 2 or 3 weeks from now. These pictures are from a week ago. Right now, the roof is completely done. And this weekend, they're going to paint and install the toilets and all this stuff. So like 2 or 3 weeks, it might be done. We're working on the permits for electricity and it's looking good. And I hope we have a bathroom by 3 weeks from now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thanks for the updates.
Thank you.
It's good to
Okay.
see that it's finally happening.
And the next thing is our dog park and Short Buck Park. Both of those we've been working on again, Carlos. So we're very close to having that notice to proceed. The planning for the resurfacing of the streets in the north area, that has actually begun. That's included in our budget this year. CXX railroads have actually begun the drainage cleaning that will help us with flooding. It will be decreased this year significantly. The wastewater asset management verification process, that has also started with the Florida Rural Water Association. The quality of the water has increased significantly because we do have one aeration tower working, the other one, the parts are almost ordered. And finally, our payroll system is being upgraded. You may not know, from ADG, we're now going to ADP. So within 2 months, you should see that change. And we are almost to the point of selecting a vendor for our new IT cloud-based phone system. It will significantly reduce our telephone costs as a city and will significantly increase our utilization and flexibility so that we can, change the names when new personnel come on board. Okay, Jenkins renovations are expected to be completed in March 2025. FPL has already started or is in the midst of the street lights illumination. We will go from Joe is right there. He can explain it more. But anyway, they will be replacing the existing lights in various areas. The website, per Commissioner Campbell request, is now modified, and it does reflect a citizen portal for the issues concerning streetlights. So that has now gone into effect. I don't know, Joe, do you need to say anything about the FPL?
Yeah, just for the Hank Bryant Park, which is amazing because it's coinciding with the construction. FP&L has already begun running pipes and everything throughout the park. They're talking about 1 more month and that the whole park will be lit up. It's going to be amazing. We're so excited about it. So
Which part?
they're in the process.
Bryant.
Hank Bryant. Yep.
And then
And they
are we
already
doing
started
something
painting
citywide
a
also
little
with
bit.
streetlights? No, not yet.
Not currently.
Not
no.
yet.
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Assistant Chief Newcomb had something to say
He was
about the lights.
Yeah.
Newcomb?
Yeah, Ms. Hardy, you want me to address?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. So sorry about that. If you could give us better info.
So just to get the commission up to speed with the lighting, there's been questions about LED lighting across the city.
Right.
Last week I had, last week I had a meeting with our FPL representative because the police department works on the lighting program our night shift for years. When they ride around, if they see a light out, they report it to me or to chief, and then we report it to FPL to get the light replaced. The question came up is, do we have LEDs? And the answer is LED lights were installed over a few year period throughout our entire city from FPL.
Excuse me.
They replaced all of the high pressure sodium light bulbs that were originally throughout the city. And they were replaced by a Cree 41 watt LED bulb, which provides 5,000 lumens of light. Now, understand that when he's told me that, I was like, man, that sounds pretty good. But it's just a equivalent to the high pressure sodium light. So it didn't give us any more light. It was just a little bit more efficient. So in the meeting, I asked, what can we do differently? We're looking at illuminating areas of high crime or certain businesses or our parks. And the representative informed me that other cities, to include Daytona Beach, so if we wanted to take a road trip and see what these lights look like, we could. But other cities are utilizing a 264 watt LED called the ATB2, which produces 30,000 lumens of light, which is 6 times the amount of light utilized from what we currently have, the 41 watt. These bulbs are being utilized in high crime areas, parks, and business districts within Daytona and a few other cities. So I asked then after that, I was like, okay, what's that going to cost us? And the statement is that he doesn't know, and he doesn't know because what we have to do as a city is we have to identify exactly where we want these lights to go, because there is a charge for the new bulb. There is a charge for the additional power. And then there is also a charge for taking the old bulb down. And that is kind of retro. There's a retro cost to that because those bulbs are supposed to last for 10 years. So there's a depreciation time, and he can't give us a comprehensive cost until we do our own lighting study, which we've already started at the police department. We have our night shift guys going specifically through the north side right now because I believe that was the request of the commission. And we're identifying areas that we believe not only are hot spots for crime, but are areas that are dark. And then we will identify all of those poles. The representative will then come out with me and Captain Williams or the chief, do a ride through with us in the nighttime to verify our request. And then they will provide us with a comprehensive cost analysis that we can bring to the commission for direction on what the cost would be. It'll also require us to go into a new contract with FPL because every time we do lights, we have to update our agreement.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
What would be the downside? I know you said going through the north side. What would be the downside if we're doing a study to study the entire city of Palatka versus just specifying an area for this project? So in the future, should we desire to have lighting in other areas improve, it's already done, instead of us having to stop, go back, do it all over again?
Yes, sir.
What would be the downside to just doing a study for the entire Palatka? Because there are other areas outside of the north side that are high crime areas. South side is one of them. But even in the historic, not the historic districts, but River Street, in certain times of this dark areas over there as well. I would make the recommendation to our commission to give staff direction to do a study for the entire city of Palatka versus specifying a specific area, so that in the future, should we need this study, it's already done.
Yes, sir. And we can do that. The only downside that I can think of isn't on the city side. It would be on the FPL side, because that comprehensive cost breakdown is going to change every year that we don't replace one of the bulbs. It'll actually get cheaper because of the depreciation of how much that old light is going to cost us compared to what it would cost right now. And then, of course, you know how things cost, the costs go up and they go down. So they might just have to adjust it. But we can definitely get our study done.
I think
I
you
just
have to
would want us to be
locations and,
I just want us to be productive and instead of reactive. And again, if that's something that we can go ahead and take care of in the beginning, it'll only get better for us with price wise, but it's wise to just go ahead and try to knock it out in general. So again, should we get to a point we want to move with replacements, that the work is already done as far as the study?
Yes, sir. We can definitely do that. We were just starting with the north side or with zone one from what we understood the request to be. But I can have staff as soon as we're done over there, go over to zone two and as well as zone three, because I agree with you. We do have some areas that also require lighting. Did you have a question?
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
yeah.
Commissioner Born.
Yes, but talking with the chief, and Ms. Carty regarding the lighting across the city or whatever, and chief did say they have the 3 zones that they're actually doing evaluations on, and they're making sure that they get, all of the lightings in the area evaluated. So, and then too, the ones that's on the bridge, what lumens are those? Because those seem to be some really, really good LED lightings.
Yes, sir. I didn't ask that, but what FPL mentioning the bridge, what the FPL representative did tell me is that if we were concerned with any lighting on Reed Street, the FDOT changes that are being made that we've had conversation with in the commission meetings in the recent past, he said we don't need to worry about changing those because the FDOT changes are going to adjust, will require adjustments to the lumens of the lights on Reed Street. So that shouldn't cost us anything with the changes from what he told me, but I will follow up on that to verify it. And then I'll ask him what the lumens are on the bridge.
All right, well, certainly appreciate y'all for the work and effort y'all are putting in to help improve lighting and safety across the city.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Carter?
I have a
Go ahead,
question.
Commissioner.
She made mention of Jenkins and the renovations being complete. We also made a request in the commission meeting that we want to move forward with a workshop, so that Mr. Cutright, who has been working so diligently trying to bring programming into the building, would have a clear picture of what we as the commission would desire, along with the community would desire for that particular building. During his time of us having, in his time of being over the facility, there have been change in administration, both commission wise and through staff. So I want to make sure that he has clear direction as we move forth with regards to the desired outcome of what we would want for that facility. So I would love to make sure that that workshop is done rather quickly, being that renovations would be done so we can go full-fledged with making sure that that building is maximized for the potential that it has.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr.
okay,
Dominguez,
yes,
did you wanna
sir.
Say something?
Well, I was gonna say, and he'll explain more about timeliness and completion, but let me just address the workshop. So currently we are, city clerk is, reaching out to the commissioners, trying to establish a workshop during the week of March 17th. So that is the week that we're trying to utilize for a workshop for about 3 different items, which include the Jenkins as well.
Mr. Dominguez?
Go ahead.
I also want to make a correction on the dates. I mean, and Jenkins Phase 1, that's the right side of the building, is going to be complete by March. But the whole project, the expected date of completion is July, just to
Okay,
make
for
that.
all,
Yes,
for everything.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So major portion is March, but there will be other items that will not, their drop dead deadline is July. Will they get it done sooner? We expect them to, and that's why Carlos is questioning us.
Commissioner Jones?
So to Commissioner Campbell's request on the workshop and Cutright, what I would love to have prior to that, schematics of what the renovation is going to entail, so that when you bring it for a workshop, we could actually discuss more in detail of who, what, where, and how, and the operations of it as far as what we are envisioning as the governing body. And that'll help us. I think it'll help everybody. I don't know if we have that as far as the plans, but
We do.
that would definitely help when we come versus having just a blank slate. We need to have that so we know the capacity and what we're actually trying to accomplish. I think I guess that's what Ms. Cutright is looking for. What are we trying to make Jenkins Community Center be?
Yes, sir. We will bring the plan, we will bring the schematics, how much we have completed as of that date, and the intended timeline as of that date as well.
Commissioner Barham?
And I did speak with, the interim as well as, Mr. Cutright as well, in terms of, where Jenkins, the status of Jenkins, and again, I think the floor is gonna need some revisiting there because, it's gonna take approximately about 25 to 30 to get that right the way it need to be.
Mr.
From a
Cutright will address. it.
Right, right.
Well, initially about a month and a half, 2 months ago, we did a temporary fix for the floor, about $5,000. As you can see, if you've been in there recently, it didn't really take that well when we found out that deep in the bottom of the wood was rotting. So we really got to get deeper into the grade of the wood and replace some wood and then sand it down to the bare and then build it back up. And right now we're looking at prices from $18,000 to $26,000 from the different quotes that I've got for that. Now, the gym floor is not slippery. It's just not cosmetically pleasing, but it's functioning real well. We have kids in there Tuesday through Thursday shooting open gym. And we have utilized it with PAL a couple times and also a couple schools to play some games.
Thank you.
And then also they had several individuals lined up to utilize the facility. So yeah, it is prudent that we get this meeting so that we can have the commission also know what the layout and the spaces available so that we can plan for that area for the program inside of the house, understanding and knowing what Mr. Cutright's vision is and what our vision is, and see how we can marry those for the best utilization of the facility.
Yes, and we will also make sure that you receive in advance that study that we completed it relates to rental and all of that. I'll make sure that you have that. It is related.
Right, I understand that, but
Okay.
on the rental side of the house,
Yes, sir.
let's keep in mind that the services that the city cannot provide,
Yes.
we need to make sure that we're not charging people market rate for people for services. Example, if the Social Security office was going in the facility, we don't want to charge them market rate when they're trying to make sure that they're providing the services for needed things, because our people right now have to go to St. Augustine, Jacksonville,
Right.
Gainesville. So we want to make sure that we're able to provide the service for our people.
And I
We-
think that's
we
one of
are-
those things we'll discuss at the workshop.
Yes, that's why I brought it up. So that'll
Okay.
be one of the items that we will discuss.
Thank you.
Sir.
Ms. Carter, may I just clear up the timeline on the
Yes.
repairs? The
Please.
March 15 timeline, it was for the multipurpose room and the senior activity side of the building. The foyer and over the gym and part of the office area we at is slated to be finished in May. And then the phase 3 is actually the classrooms on the left side of the building, what used to be the music room. That is phase 3, and that is the June to July timeframe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
No,
I
okay, go
do have, because again, and I don't think it's anything on the city, but are there drop dead dates that are part of the contractor's contract? Because we've heard so many different timeframes, timelines that we hope to have it done by that time, but what's in the contract that they have to hold on to so that we can hold them accountable? Because again, you can ride by, you can see work happening, and then you won't see anything happening for weeks at a time. So again, what can we hold them accountable for contractually?
Okay, so
Contractually.
MIE, that is the contractor that's doing the project up there. Their timeline is July the 25th. But they had timelines to finish each phase. At one point, they was trying to finish all the phases and have the engineer and the electrician come out and inspect the building at all 3 phases. We recently, in the last meeting we had 2 weeks ago, squashed that and said they had to do each phase completed and then move forward. And that's where these definite timelines we're getting now is coming about.
And there's a penalty, of course, if they don't finish. the
After
whole
the 25th,
project.
we still having the penalty of we can penalize them after July 25th. So.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to open the floor up to public comments. Public comments, speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and please be respectful in your comments. We have a card here, Cody Bachheim. Please give your city or location of residence, home of residence,
Hello, 618 Fern, Palatka here.
and your name as well.
Oh, sorry,
for the
Cody
start.
Bachheim, 618 Fern. Just want to say hello. Some of you may recognize me. I worked for, under Eddie for a little while. I recently no fault to the city. I love everything you guys have done. I just wanted to talk about my street. I'm sorry if this is the wrong place and forum for that. I just not really informed on what to do. I live on Fern, which is a couple streets down from Mosley and Husson, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it. We just get a lot of activity, a lot of speeding, and it's a small street compared to those, and it's a cut through between St. John's and Krill. So we just see a lot of activity. I live on the end near Krill, and people will turn in, and it turns into a drag strip. It's just, you hear the cars all night, and it's just because there's no light there. At Hudson, there's a light. On Mosley, there's a light, so people use it as a shortcut. And I just noticed a lot, and I didn't know if there's something that we could do in the middle of the street. There is a intersection. I didn't know if there's a way to do like a four-way, a speed table or something like that to kind of discourage people from using it more often than I see fit. I don't want to make it all about me, but we just have kids everywhere on their bike. And it's like 60. I've seen 60. I've seen very, very fast going down there. Just concerns me. So I didn't know if there's any course to do with that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tasha Givens.
Mayor, if I may, just for the sake of public, let them know that we don't make official comments during the public comment session, but there may be an opportunity so that they won't leave for a response. So I just wanted to make sure that you just don't leave. Yeah.
Go ahead. Name and city of residence.
Good
please.
evening. My name is Tarsha Gibbons. I live here in Palatka. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, city staff, everyone. Last time I was here, I read to you a copy of the city's code of conduct, which I received from our city attorney, Ms. Jane West, as a public records request. The question that I had that I didn't get a chance to ask was, does every employee that works for the city, do they sign an employment agreement saying that they agree to adhere by the city's code of conduct and its policy?
And as was just said, we'll give responses
Oh, no,
afterwards.
this is for you to
Okay.
keep tabs on. In addition to that, I think the city owes Attorney Rosman, the one that you hired to do the investigation on your former city interim, I believe we owe him an apology. The city hired him to do an investigation. He did his job. He brought forth the information, and I would like to request a public records request right here in front of everyone. I would like a copy emailed to me of that investigation. Now, during that meeting, we had 3 or 4 representatives from another organization that came and they spoke. And I believe they attacked, in my opinion, Mr. Rosman's character. And I don't understand why that was permitted or allowed, because this is not the place. We were not in a court of law. I feel like that was uncalled for. You hired him to do his job. He did his job. I didn't like the fact that he was attacked and that he should retract what he said. As a matter of fact, I would like a copy of that. I'm putting in the public records request. I want a copy of that because we, the citizens of Palatka, we should know what's going on. In addition to that, I would like an update on what's going on with the airport swap concerning the FFA. We're entitled to know that as well. We want to know what's going on. Back to what I was saying before, my next question is, as an employee of the city, is it the employee's responsibility to disclose their personal business dealings within the sworn written statement according to your policy here? Shall disclose in a written sworn statement to the city manager at 6 months intervals, the nature and scope of the relationship and the extent the financial benefits received. I have a request. I believe in restitution. So if there's anything that the city or me as a citizen that's been taken from me as a citizen of the city of Palatka, I believe in restitution. I
Thank
think we
you.
should look into those things.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing no one close public comment. Does anybody want to respond to Mr. Bachheim's concern about her?
I wanted to respond to.
Okay, go.
What I believe as it relates to assisting you with stop signs.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. I believe the police officers get involved with that, with performing like a study and so forth. But I don't know, is Assistant Chief here? Maybe he can address that. And then
Didn't we
while
just-
he's getting him city attorney, you have anything you'd like to comment on that?
Let's just get your contact information and we can do a traffic study to determine the best solution for that area.
Okay, so that's how that gets done. The traffic study is done. And once we, concur and understand what the need is, the appropriate steps will be taken. Assistant Chief, do you want to respond to that, please?
I didn't hear the question.
He has a problem with, like speeding.
On
very
his street.
small. He can.
First
explain
Street.
Yeah, it's,
But please come up to the, please, yeah, we'll explain it to him because you can't, yeah, please.
it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bachheim got up during public comment and expressed a concern on the speeding on Fern Street where he lives, and there are a lot of kids in that section of the neighborhood, and it's just a danger. An annoyance, of course, but yes,
Okay.
and how do we go about addressing that?
So once the complaint comes in or we're made aware of the situation, then, excuse me, we would deploy resources to check people's speeds, and if there's speeding going on, then we would conduct, the speed enforcement as necessary.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Bachheim should go to the police
Yeah.
station and file.
Yeah, yes. ma'am.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
If he'll just come and see either Chief Shaw or I, we'll get it addressed for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Right.
to Ms. Given's concerns.
Well, with Ms. Givens' question, I think it's a combination. Some of it would relate to HR as to the portion about every employee
Mhm.
being required to sign a code of conduct.
Come on up, please, Ms. Jones.
Yes, because that's part of our personnel policy. That item is in the personnel policy. They sign and understand every form that's contained within.
Okay, thank you.
Now, let me ask, just for
Yes, of
sake of
course.
transparency, that was something that was recently done with regards to the, if you have any vested interest in a project or something like that, right?
That's the form you're saying that they had to start writing out and turning that in. That's something totally different. As far as the code of conduct that Ms. Givens is asking for, that's already a part of our personnel policy,
Gotcha.
always has been.
Okay.
I can address a couple of the others.
Please.
In terms of the public records request for the investigation, I believe that was in an agenda packet. It's available to the public. We can get that to you. Our city clerk, Karen Hayes, now handles public records requests, so she'll get that to you. In terms of the public comments, the public records request from that, we can provide a transcript or a link to the video feed. In terms of the nature of the comments, it's First Amendment right of free speech. In terms of the update on the airport swap, just had a meeting today. We're still working on that.
Right.
Do you want to
go
go
ahead.
into that anymore?
Just not too much more, other than the fact that with the airport swap, we have received better guidance and so forth as to how to get that completed. The appropriate agencies are involved with ensuring that everything that we're doing is correct. So we just had a meeting today with the regional office, and we do expect to have that completed very soon.
And regional office is FAA, right?
Yes, FAA
Just to
in
clarify.
Atlanta.
Okay.
Yes, that just happened today for that. And I hope that we've answered at least
And there
some
was a
of your
disclosure
questions.
of personal dealings was the other thing that was. brought up.
Disclosure,
Personal dealings, an employee's disclosure.
again, that's an HR
That's an HR,
question.
yes.
That's what I was-
Right.
That-
and
that
that's an HR
disclosure?
Right, correct. And
Ms.
Ms.
Jones, can you address
Ms.
that,
Jones?
how we're supposed to tell?
At current and from my, since I'll just say from my employee, I'm not sure whether the city required employees, although it is a part of our policy that was,
Yes, it
that,
is.
that she has, that any employee should be disclosing any affiliations they have that would be in conflict. So that should be written and provided. I did not have any of those that I was able, as it pertained to, from her point, our previous interim city manager until the date that came up, and I think that was like July. Then that was written for me. Prior to that, looking back, when I was asked to look into that, it did not exist written in the file.
And the only other thing I would add to that is we also are required to submit a Form 1 financial disclosure to the state of Florida Supervisor of Elections.
But it is in the policy.
Thank you.
That's the point. It is in the policy.
So I think, so
Go ahead.
for clarity, I'm sorry, Commissioner. No, I did see that provision.
Yeah,
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, basically, I learned about some things early on. So I was speaking to Mr. Bell and had Mr. Bell to draft that to provide to the employees. And so that's why it went out. I think it started about August 1st was the where everybody should have been reporting any conflicts of interest.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones.
He summed it right up. Thank you.
Thank you. On to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone wants pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes. Item C through U.
See through what?
U.
You, okay.
C through U. If you guys wanna table it to another meeting, that'll be fine, but I have questions.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the remaining items?
I would like to make a motion to approve items excluding C through U for discussion.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor? Any opposition? Thank you. Okay, C, release of lien, Rachel
Can-
Douglas.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
before we go through these items one by one,
We could go to the other
is
side.
there an opportunity for Commissioner Jones to state the reason of why he would like to have these items pulled so that we can address it as one cohesive unit versus going through each item one by one?
Commissioner Jones, would you like to explain?
Absolutely. Be my pleasure. These items, do y'all want to read what the items is, Captain? And then I'll explain.
It's a,
Item C through U. So do you want to do C
What-
through T?
What does it pertains to? Tell the public. Release of liens.
You're right.
So
Okay.
these properties state for us to blanket and release these liens on these properties. However, I see some of them, and I can understand when it says property in compliance, no fines were incurred. So if no fines were incurred, please help me understand why we're releasing the lien or why there is a lien. That
In doing some cleanup with our works in ADG and anticipating the changeover with department heads, we noticed that some properties was imposed a lien on it, even though they came in compliance
before the lien date was actually, before the violation date. And it was submitted to the clerk of courts. And when we noticed that, we tried to correct that. Also, some of those cases will go back to ADG that predated us. And we found out that they had liens on it, and the property from our knowledge was already in compliance too. So in trying to clean up everything and make sure the swap is good, we wanted to release the things that we wanted to control. Those properties that you see on that sheet of paper are in compliance and has no fines and fees that was running. But unfortunately, a lien, a findings of fact was filed with the clerk of court, and we're trying to just correct our mistake.
The only thing I would add, Commissioner, is that if the property is in compliance and there's no fine, having that lien encumber that title is basically going to constitute a cloud on title. And it's really going to prohibit the property owner from selling the property with a clean title. So this is basically a cleanup effort.
Any other questions,
That-
Commissioner?
I'm not, yes, it is. So, I don't like to see it brought to us this way without the, an explanation in here going forward. And some of them still has, as I said, approved the release of the lien. I'm still at a loss of why do we file it if there's no, I don't see any monetary release. Say, for instance, what I'm asking for is how much has been encumbered here? I mean, the dollar amount, because I want to know how much are we releasing off each of these properties. You're saying it didn't incur any cost at all?
None of the properties had liens violations that occurred past the violation date of fix. Everything was in compliance before the violation. In changing over with ADG, some of those cases, we noticed they had that problem, but I already had liens on it. And then also in changing over staff and situation with our works, when we lost one staff, another one came in, we had a stack of violations that was automatically just filed without going through the process. Since then, we'll put a process in that once the violations of the hearing is through and you have a 60, 90, 120 days, once that date is over, if the fines start, then we'll file it. At that time, we was filing it right after the hearing.
So what could have cleaned this up so that we could understood they were filed in error? It would have been a
house cleaning.
And it could have prevented me from pulling all of these at this time. So just a better explanation up front that would have helped me. So thank you on that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And that addresses all the way through
All the way
Through
to
T.
to
Through
T.
T.
Yeah.
all the way
I
to
make-
P.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we accept those items C through T.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Is there anybody here for public comment on these items? Seeing none, proposed public comment, we have a motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Item U. Adopt resolution 2025 R18. Ms. Jones.
Okay, so these are the policies that were brought forward to the commission on. Minute here, I need my glasses. On January 23rd, which was our comp policy for exempt employees, our flex time policy, as well as a remote work policy. These are policies that the city currently do not have at all. So when we ran into situations about employees wanting to be able to work from home for specific reasons, say that they had COVID, and I'll just use that as something, but wasn't bedridden to the point that they couldn't work, but they were unable to come into the office, but was still able to perform their duties, they could have authorization to work from home, those with the capability of remote. But there was nothing in place, so everything was a case by case, and this will be too, except we would have a written policy that would guide that. As far as the flex time policy, that was put in place more for our staff for mental well-being, which I added into the policy for their mental health purposes, as well as a recruiting tool. To have employees that able to have flex schedules so they would have time to spend with their family, longer weekends or something, or an extra day off during the week, but still putting in the required 80 hours, as long as the production of the department that they're working in still would be, the job would get done. So that is on a day by day, month by month, that the employer, the supervisor would go back and look at that and see if it's working, if the job is getting done, is it working for that employee? And it could be pulled at any time if for any reason the production fell below the standards of what that particular department wanted. The other, one that we put in was, did the comp time remote, and the comp time, the flex schedule, and the
Compressed works weeks.
that's the flex.
I say flex time, compressed work weeks, and I guess the other one,
Compensatory 12.
You got a
It's,
remote work policy,
I'm look,
the remote
page
work
82
policy,
on in my book.
and the employee exempt comp time policy. So I think in the flex policy, it was 3 alternatives there of what could be considered in our flex policy. I think that's what you're looking at. And I'm gonna get to that. It was a flex time. It's 3 different bullet points there for
Right.
compressed work weeks. An employer can work 10-hour work days, reducing it to 4. Any of these, as it pertains to a department, there's 3 different options there. Every other Friday off, every other Monday off, or whatever, however they switch. So it's 3 different options that they could utilize this time. That's not saying the entire city or entire department would go to 4-day compressed work weeks and they're working just 10-hour days. That's not what that's designed for. As it pertains to any individual, and as you can see, there is a flex work agreement that they were signed to, that this is what this employee is going to be working for this amount of time. And if it doesn't work, then they either switch it to something that would work for the department, or they would take them off the flex schedule and they would just be back to their regular 8 to 5, 6 to 3, whatever that schedule would be, however they work. So those were 3 bullet points on different alternatives that the supervisors could look at to see what would work for their department for particular employees. So that's what those bullet points are about. It's not that everybody would automatically go to a 4-day work week. That's not what that's designed for.
So as I read it, it almost sounds like a pilot program. Is that what we're approving? Or I wanted to be clear because it says 6-month trial period. Is this what we're approving, or if we're approving that this is policy at this point?
So I think in the where the 6
I-
months are, is if the employee would go back to supervisor, I believe it's saying, and if I'm misreading something, upon approval of a flex schedule, 6-month trial period will be to assess the impact of that particular employee. So this is really a case-by-case basis. So if I am on this flex schedule and in 6 months, my supervisor was to say, that is not working. That's not working. I need you in the office more. This is not working for you. This 4 days a week, 10-hour days, that's not working. But how about let's try every other Friday? So they're just reevaluating to see the productivity of what's going on in any department. And that's the supervisor's responsibility to make sure they're getting the production they need with the coverage they need at the same time for their employees, while providing additional time off, that extra day, whether it comes at 4 days a week, whether it comes to a 1 week, 1 day off every other week. So it's gonna be not the same thing for every employee, and it may not work out a 6-month trial. And a supervisor may say, this is not getting the production that I want. We failed out on this. We failed back in 30 to 50 work orders, whatever the case may be. So they may have to say, this is just not working for our department at this time. So.
Okay, I support work-life balance. I want to say that first. But also with the concerns of, we have fire department and police department which have unions. I don't know the impact, or did we think about that as well prior to putting this together? And I haven't heard that part of it. I would be okay with a pilot program to get some feedback and information back on it before we put this into policy to move forward. I just wanted to to actually consider those things and really consider how it will work throughout the city. And we said exempt employees, but we didn't, I would like to see it also spelled out who specifically at what level can actually, I know what exempt mean, but everywhere else I have worked is almost a given, I guess. If you were to work extra hours, you would flex them out. Here it says extra comp or comp, that's the same as flex, when you say, or no?
What you talking about, comp for
Comp
exempt
time
employees?
versus flex time.
No.
Would you please,
Clarify the differences.
clarify the difference for me?
Okay, so the comp policy for exempt employees do not receive time and a half. I don't care if they work 60 hours a week.
Right, I know.
A regular employee, if they work anything over 40, they're gonna get time and a half. The comp time for exempt employees is designed that if an employee, say just for commission meetings, for different meetings all during the week, there are a lot of different sessions go on that employees are here for an additional 3-4 hours past what they actually work at 5 o'clock. It's to give them that comp time so that at another time when their schedule is not so busy, if they want to take this half a day and use that comp time and not use their vacation time, because they've already put in 55 hours the week, 2 weeks ago. So they have this time. So that's the comp time. Now, the flex policy is designed for everybody that's able to take a flex schedule, okay? That's for everybody. The comp time is simply for exempt employees or employees that are not covered under the time and a half rule of overtime. They don't get any compensation whether they work 60 hours or whether they work 40. It's gonna be the same.
So if I was a non-exempt employee and I wish to take comp time versus taking overtime, because sometimes time off is more valuable than the money, would I be able to exercise that?
If that's something you choose, but I think if you really labored around and asked or just.
I'm just asking you.
They would be able to, but I can tell you from experience, working with all of the employees, if they work over 40 hours, their expectations are they get time and a half.
Oh, okay.
So
it's a question to ask before we go into it. I just want to know. Again, I'm in favor of work-life balance. I just had those questions, and as far as the union.
So every time we bring a policy, and the police, as we just unionized with them, but when a policy is brought forth, and we bring these policies forth in our department head meetings, so that the chief is very aware to go ahead and say, these are things that they're looking at, so that the union would be aware that these things are coming forward. So that's all.
So the communication's there.
So when they are approved, they already know that these are things that are being looked into, that if it has an effect. So the union normally has effect when we're talking about changing money. That's when they are really concerned about something that's affecting their money.
Hours work affect money. Hours work affect money.
Well, for our union workers, firefighters, they currently are working 2 days and they're getting, time. I don't think they're looking for a flex schedule. Their schedule is about as flex as it goes.
I just want to know how.
But then you have the administrative staff that could benefit, that works at the fire department from the flex schedule, because they're straight 5 days a week. They don't get time off. So they could benefit from that. You have administrative staff, and of course you have the exempt staff, Chief Taylor.
Madam Mayor, I really do want to interrupt as a point of order. I really do. I'm trying not to call a point of order, but I do have a comment as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
If Commissioner Jones is finished.
Ma'am,
Are you
talking to the mayor.
concluded? Are you all set?
I just wanted her to explain. She explained it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis?
So the one thing I want to just bring our attention to is when Mrs. Jones presented this to the commission before in draft form, it's my understanding, first of all, this is a policy, not a procedure. And so the policy, I think, was clearly expressed. And the other thing about exempt versus non-exempt, which I'm sure you've already included in your policy, because there are different laws that govern those two categories of employees. I would like to say that I am not in favor of a, what was it you called it, being a temporary or the 6 month,
pilot.
a pilot. I'm not, because I understand the policy is just saying that if granted, the employee will be assessed after 6 months to determine if this is working. If it is, the decision may be to continue, and if not, it may be terminated, no more, no less. I didn't take that to understand it being a pilot.
No.
Is
No,
that true?
It's it's
Okay.
a policy.
So to that point, I'd like to make a motion. Or I'm sorry, when time is right.
Just a point of cleanup with regards to the 6 month time frame. Would it be advantageous for us to say up to 6 months? Because what, say for instance, they identify that it's something that will not work in a month's time frame. Are they committed to that 6 months, or would they have the ability to go back and change? And that's the only, I'm fine with the policy. I'm fine with everything that was in it. I just wanted to clarify, if they commit to making whatever schedule change, are they committed to that are they committed to that for 6 months before evaluation can be brought
Yeah.
forth?
So as the policy is written, it said upon approval of a flex work schedule, a 6 month trial period will apply to assess the impact and effectiveness of the arrangement. And they would have to, after successful completion is when they'll change it, but they can change that anytime. That's just to ensure that it's gonna be successful. This arrangement may be canceled for any reason by management. So we can change it if it's not working.
Fine, I just wanted to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure
Yes,
I'm
sir.
fine with the policy,
Okay.
and I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and second. Is there anybody here for public comment on this item? Seeing no one close public comment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. On to regular business. Do we want to take a recess at this time?
No, ma'am, please,
No?
Doc.
Good. On to Blue Crab Festival agreement with RQ Music.
See?
Yes, we can pull item C. I was gonna pull it when we got to it, but that's fine. Yes, there's a request by the interim city manager to pull item C. On to item B, Blue Crab Festival agreement with RQ Music. Who's going to speak to that? Okay, Ms. West?
Sure. So as you know, back in September, the organizer of the Blue Crab Festival, RQ Music, was given a check for $50,000. However, we still do not have a contract in place with that organizer, and this is an attempt to finally get that across the finish line. We have a draft contract. There have been negotiations. You can see the counter in your agenda packet, the counter from the organizer. We have conferred internally with staff on how some of the counters would affect our staff and our finances. And so we have included, for your benefit, the staff responses in terms of our recommendations on how to proceed with those counters. And I have also included in the agenda packet the fiscal impact from the various departments that would be impacted. So you understand when you hopefully approve of this contract, what the fiscal implications are going to be.
City Clerk, can you please display it?
Specifically, if you could pull up the counter and the staff responses, I think would be the most instructive.
Yes. right
Okay.
there. Thank you.
So you can see here, the first was a reduction of the festival dates from 4 days to 3 days to not include Memorial Day. Staff was amenable to that change. Second request was delete the reference to an audit of financials by the city. We didn't do that last year. We are amenable to that change. Can you go back, please? It's okay.
Make it larger.
Okay, thanks. Third, shifting the responsibility of providing emergency services to the city rather than to RQ Music. We were not amenable to that change because you can see on the next page what the financial implications of that would be. Don't go to the next page, please. Just stay on that. Thanks. You're fine. The fourth request was reducing the number of nationally known talent music groups from 3 to 2. We are not amenable to that change because that was the whole premise of why we gave her the 50,000 to begin with. She had made the comment that she needed those funds to put that deposit down urgently back in September in order to reserve 3 national acts. But again, this is up to you. We're just providing the information. Ultimately, these are all decisions up to you. Extending the cleanup time from the festival we had asked for 24 hours. She had requested 72 hours. We're amenable to 36. There were some issues last year, especially with the carnival area, where they simply did not leave the premises in a very timely manner, and it was impacting the boat ramps and stuff like that. Next, shifting the responsibility of all emergency services. This is like the request above. We weren't amenable to that because of the cost incurred. The next was requiring the city to provide fireworks. We had deleted fireworks altogether in the last draft that we had talked about. However, we are amenable to providing fireworks at our sole discretion. Next is deleting the city's ability to use any intellectual property rights for event memorabilia. We have always used event memorabilia in marketing the Blue Crab Festival, so we were not amenable to that change. And then finally, if the contract is terminated by either party, RQ Music shall return up to 50% of the funds. We wanted to just kind of nail that down to an actual dollar amount. And so we have recommended that if it is terminated by either party, RQ Music shall refund 40,000 of the 50,000 that has already been provided. And so now this goes back to you as the commission to make a decision on how you would like to proceed. All that being said, this festival is a major event. It's a couple months away, and we really need a contract.
And additionally, if we were to follow the recommendation that the promoter has put before us, that next page, please, we would incur at our expense an additional 36,000. So that's, and that's why we wanted to bring this back to you. We feel that we've met her on many occasions, and here's where we are.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
So 2 questions. One, this negotiation with her started when we gave her a check. We gave this vendor a check, this person. a check.
Negotiations had actually started prior to that.
Okay, so she has a check.
Yeah,
We have paid her,
yeah,
but we don't have a signed contract.
we do not.
Okay, and then my next question is, if the contract with her, or if there is no contract with her and the commission approves your recommendation and she gives us back 40,000, what is the city's contingency to moving forward with the Blue Crab Festival without her?
We do not have a contingency. I'm just going to be honest.
Conversation only. We have been conversating only. We don't have a real detailed plan, community affairs. So we have been talking about it. We are hopeful that we can bring this to conclusion. Hopeful that we can get this signed and agreed on. But
It would be near impossible to have a plan at this juncture. That could be, yeah.
I'm really trying to step out. Yeah, so that's why we're really urgently trying to come to an agreement with Ms. Janetta.
If I may, Mayor,
Go ahead.
in hopes of not having this conversation be drawn out, I think it would be to our advantage to move forth with the recommendations of our staff who has participated previously and know the ramifications or the output that it will require to do it. And if we're trying to get something so that we know if we need to come up with a backup plan for that weekend, I make the recommendation or I make the motion that we move forth with the said staff responses as a part of the contract to get over to RQ Music.
And a second.
We have a motion and second. Do you want to say something, Commissioner?
In the question section.
Okay. And also Ms. Sabalero's not here, correct? Okay, just wanted, in case she was here, give her her opportunity. We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, go ahead.
Next question.
That's right, that's a
Well,
question.
just how did we get to this point in this short of a time frame, knowing that that contract was not signed and with the possibility of a no-go for the Blue Crab Festival? Because we worked so hard since 2017 when we had to bring this thing back from having it with the nonprofit that was putting the city in jeopardy as it relates to a long-term festival. So we made those commitments way back when and said we won't have this type of, be in this type of position going forward. So knowing that, why are we in a tight position today?
Because if I may, the promoter has not really been amenable. Even though we've tried to meet with her on many occasions, she's either been sick, there's been many opportunities. And we have not been able to bring her in to sit her down and let's negotiate. So she really did not start negotiating with us earnestly until I would think January, even though we've been scheduling many meetings. And that's how we got here, because she has the funds. And no matter what version we may have sent her or communication, just being blunt, she really was not communicating as well or coming in. So finally, and this is a big finally, we are where we are. And we are at a point where we have an agreement that she wants, and what she wants is what we've identified in front of you. So if we will do everything we can. We'll go ahead and try to negotiate a little more and close it out, and understand, however, that if we were to lend more towards to what she's asking, as the city, we are going to incur costs that last year and the year before she actually paid. We got here because Ms. Janetta feels that we should have given her $75,000. And that's just the simplicity of it. She wanted 75,000 because she is stating that to get the services from us is costing her a minimum of 25,000, 23,000. So that's why we're here.
Well, again, she can't change midstream. That's what she asked for. That's what she got paid. She need to adhere to the contract.
We agree with you, and that's how we got here. So at this point, we will do everything we can to get the agreement done, and we'll try to mitigate the costs that we have to face in order to make sure that this event is actually held.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And are we going to provide her with a time certain
Yes.
to respond and sign this contract? Because again, we can't continue to drag this out. We either need the money back and come up with Plan B, whatever the heck that might be.
It has been challenging, Mayor, because she refuses to meet by phone or Zoom. The only meetings she will have are in person, and she's been hospitalized numerous times and has had
That's true.
other event conflicts
That's true.
prohibiting an in-person meeting. So this has been very challenging. We have made this a priority. I will give a deadline of whatever you propose.
I'm
just-
proposing that at least within the next week, we
Yeah.
bring this to
Okay.
some
That's
kind of
fine, but
closure.
a month
And-
is fine.
And two, can we also start looking at maybe alternative to see what we can
Yes, sir.
muster?
That was the conversation with the last meeting that we held, that we do need to start looking at alternatives if we cannot bring this to closure within the next 10 days.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay.
On the staff recommendation.
The motion passed 12-1.
And I'll make a comment and let you know why I say nay, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm
The poll has already been taken, but go ahead.
gonna go ahead then, never mind.
Um,
I don't want. I said, talk to the mayor, we got it.
city manager hiring decision.
I believe you have an announcement to make.
We do.
Yes, ma'am.
Drum roll, drum roll.
It's the commissioner's moment. It's-
Okay, so I don't know if HR also wants to provide any additional information, but as everybody knows, we interviewed the top or the final three candidates yesterday afternoon, evening. And we did make a decision. I think it was very close. It was definitely a majority decision, and the decision was to hire Mr. Redmond Jones the second. So Ms. West has drafted a contract, which she sent to all of us today, so that we can begin HR can begin negotiations with Mr. Jones, with the hope of him starting March 1st or shortly thereafter. Is there anything additionally we want to add to that? Anyone? Okay, that was the drum roll announcement. Policy for not-for-profit funding requests.
Sure. So because we are having a number of nonprofit organizations giving or, submitting to us requests for funding, and the challenge is not really having set aside funds to provide to our nonprofit organizations. I'm suggesting that perhaps we consider in our budgeting process that we allocate like a day for nonprofits to come and present their requests. And then as a part of budgeting, that we set aside funds just to give to nonprofits. Ms. West, you can talk about it more.
Oh, sure. We have provided in this draft policy some eligibility criteria to give you some guidelines. One, they have to demonstrate that they have a nonprofit status as recognized by the IRS. They need to be a 501c3, or they can demonstrate that they have a fiscal sponsor that already has that nonprofit status. They need to demonstrate a benefit to the city of Palatka. That's been kind of an issue with some of the requests extending county-wide. They need to make a clear demonstration that it will benefit the city of Palatka. And then just compliance with applicable laws. And then we just have a process. There's a submission. They provide a detailed description, the amount that they're seeking, proof of their nonprofit status, a timeline for the project. And that provides some clarity, not only to the people that are applying for the funding requests, but also to staff and the city commissioners. So everyone is on a level playing field. They know what the expectations are, and we're not making random decisions based on the requests.
Thank you, Commissioner Boram.
Yes, this is some excellent work. Want to thank you guys for putting this together. But the other piece I made a request to have was put them on a not that they're on the city's budget every year, because we have nonprofits who come in every year for funding.
Right.
Put them on a rotating at least cycle, at least 2 to 3 years before they come back to the city and ask or request for funds.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, we have to budget that in every year for the same individuals.
Right, we understand.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Borum, but the time frame, depending on the impact that that organization has on the city, I have a few that I think that impactful, that are impactful. So I would want to make sure if we do the rotation that we take in strong consideration the time frame. I'm not against it, but again, we do have some nonprofit organizations that are doing some great work within the city that they are funding sources and things of that changes yearly. So again, when they come before us, sometimes the needs are great. So I want to make sure that as we, again, I'm not against it, but I just want to make sure that we be cautious of the time frame of that rotation.
We will definitely follow.
So can I get some clarity? Do you want that for 2 years? They can't come back for a period of 2 years or 3?
Let's do 2 instead of 3, and I think that will help, as it relates to give a year on, year off kind of thing to kind of, and not put it so far out. And that way it would be amenable in helping Commissioner Campbell with the request there.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay. Thank you, sounds good, and it'll come before us for approval, correct, in the future. Okay. Discussion, decision on Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll ask city attorney to follow up on
Yes,
that,
I was
please.
ready, she was ready.
Sure. I actually have our new city clerk to thank for this one.
She's right.
And she's absolutely right. She asked, what happens if the mayor's out?
I thought I couldn't be out.
No, you're not allowed, actually.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed. I'm just saying.
They'll just pop me in the chair.
However, in the very unlikely event that you are somehow not able to attend, we do not have anything in our charter or code that provides any guidance on who should run the meeting. And so we are suggesting that you establish a mayor pro tem to basically fill in those situations where the mayor is not available.
Okay, and how do we go about this? Just one of my fellow commissioners provide a nomination of sorts, or what's the process here?
How has it been done in the past?
Well, it's never been done.
It's never been done in the past.
Oh,
Do for historical knowledge purposes, Ms. Kitchens, could you come up?
Yeah, yes, and there was, Mary Lawson Brown did serve
Correct.
as mayor pro tem because I believe, and perhaps Allegra can provide some context,
vote-
she
the vote.
served for such a long period of time that it was
Right.
an
Honorary.
honorary
Yeah, that was
designation.
kind of honorary, and yes, go ahead.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. Mary Lawson Brown was given the unofficial title of the vice mayor of Palatka. But historically, whenever the mayor was out, the senior commissioner on the board was always appointed to replace them. In this case, it would be Mr. Campbell, because I think he predates Mr. Borum.
No,
Came in at
they
the same
came in
time.
together.
Well, you have
We have not matched
it'd be
said
between
here.
those two, but I think historically it has been the senior commissioner would be the one that the mayor would appoint to act in their place. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that said, because we do have 2 commissioners that came into office at the same time, would it be one of those things one could serve for 1 year? And
It is totally within the discretion of the
Any other
commission
second, yeah.
on how you want to structure it.
My turn.
Well, I mean, I don't
care
mind
either.
rotate.
I come be-
I don't mind rotating or whatever. It doesn't.
You want to flip a coin?
Okay, so are we saying Commissioner Campbell?
We go with Commissioner Campbell first.
Okay. Okay, so we have Mayor Pro Tem.
And until February 2026, and then we'll rotate out.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we need a motion for that?
I
When's
think
your
it-
term?
yeah.
We're all, 3 of us are up in 26.
So you won't get a term.
No, he will for about half a year.
Don't have 6 months?
I
February
don't know if it's
through
till January of the following year.
True.
So he'll get a full year. It's all good. Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that Commissioner Campbell serve as mayor pro tem
Second.
for,
And then for a year and then
or
followed by.
for a year, followed by Commissioner Borum.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion, a second. I thought you would say, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this, I guess, honor.
Do be. Yes, I will,
Congratulations.
tell you. Interim city manager hours work review, Ms. Cotty.
Okay.
So just, some quick background. So we're, request is just to request the commission to review the salary based on hours worked, for Ms. Carty as our interim city manager. The background, Ms. Carty was appointed to serve as the interim city manager on September the 12th, 2024. She is also serving in the capacity of finance director, and salary was set for Ms. Carty at a special call meeting on September the 30th, 2024. At the request of the commission, time tracking of hours worked were to be kept so that a review of the salary could be brought back for adjustment consideration. So there are a lot of pages in here, the current practice and all, as well as the on the, I don't know what page it is in your book. But the salary that was originally set would be for the 20 additional hours that was set. There's a lot of documentations, calendars, timekeeping that Ms. Carty presented that we have in here for your review to see if anybody has seen. Me personally, as I've seen her in here, I'm not certain that she captured all of her hours in here for the time that she has actually spent. I know that the first consideration was for the 30 hours, but we wanted to see, so from September the 12th to the end of November would have given the commission a 90-day to actually see how many hours she was actually putting in before they considered the 30, so they went with the 20. So at this time, I'm just simply recommending, based on my observation and what she has been doing, that there's a review of the hours to make the necessary salary adjustments moving forward. The current salary was set on 9/30 was for the 20 additional hours bi-weekly. The new salary recommendations for the 30 additional hours bi-weekly. And it's also the recommendation of staff that the new salary set is made retro from to December the 1st. So that would give a 90-day period from September the 12th, well, not quite 90, but a 3 months to November the 30th, so that you all have had the opportunity to see exactly what she was producing, how many hours she was putting in before its consideration for reviewing of an increase, if it's at the will of the commission.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Jones? Do we want to?
I move that we accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
We're going on to public hearings. Ordinance 2025-1, rezoning property at the intersection of St. John's Avenue and Ziegler from single family residence R1 to multifamily residence residential R3. Mr. Agamo.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners.
This is the first reading, by the way.
That is correct. This is the first reading. This is a request for rezoning of a 4.23 acres that is located at the intersection of St. John's and Celia Drive. And the request to change the existing single-family residential R1 zoning district to multifamily R3 with a planned unit development overlay. The intent of the applicant is to develop this property with 48 townhouses. The item these items were reviewed by the planning board on January 7th. The rezoning meets all the requirements established in the zoning code and as it is demonstrated in the staff report. The plan unit development was also reviewed by the Development Review Committee on December 19th, 2024, and the committee had very minor comments on it. The PUD meets the standards that are established in the zoning code, and staff is recommending that you approve the rezoning from R1 to R3 on first reading, and also you approve the plan unit development, but subject to some conditions. The condition will be number 1, that all utilities must be located underground. 2, all vehicular parking associated with the development must comply with the off-street parking and loading requirements of the code. 3, a traffic study or a letter from a certified traffic engineer or other transportation professional must be submitted regarding the vehicular ingress and egress to the proposed development. And finally, the last condition is that the applicant will enter into a development agreement with the city regarding the implementation of the PUD.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
I do not believe that the agent for the applicant is here today.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Agama?
In the past, I thought we said that if
They had to, they were,
the
yes.
applicant had to be here in order
For the
for us to
first
consider
reading.
it.
Yeah.
We did send various emails to him
We said that.
advising about the meeting,
So
and we had not received.
Yeah, so Ms.
as
West,
far as, yes, Miss, I was gonna ask what, Ms. West,
how
how do
should we
you?
proceed?
Well, you can either accept the staff report as the evidence here in terms of the burden. Typically, that's on the applicant. If there was any objection to this from members of the public, which we don't know yet because we haven't opened that up to the public, that would be the applicant's burden to refute any sort of objections. But if there are no objections, we can rely simply on the evidence and testimony of staff.
Okay, do we have anybody here for public comment on this item? Seeing none, close public comment.
So just a reminder that this is a rezoning, so it's quasi judicial in nature. You are acting in a judicial capacity.
Okay, how would the commission like to proceed?
I know.
I would say I'd be confused because in my confusion wants, I want to have clarity. Because again, as Commissioner Warren stated, that we did bring this up previously, and I don't want to be or go contrary to the conversation or the dialogue and what we've had before. Hence, I think with the mayor bringing Attorney West in for clarification, I just want us to be consistent. Because there are others on here for first readings and whatever it is that we have to do. I just want to make sure that we're consistent as we move forward, because as I look at this, there are several other first readings that I potentially don't see anyone in here personally or on Zoom land. So that this can set the precedence of a lot that's going to go on tonight and in the meetings to come.
Right, and I just want to clarify, if there is an objection from the public, it is not incumbent upon staff to refute those objections. They have made their analysis and their recommendation, but if there are objections made by the public that don't necessarily address the specific issues raised by staff, we can't address those. That is their burden of proof. But in this particular case, you have no objections from the public, so you may rely on the staff report to proceed. It is certainly ideal to have the applicant attend in order to defend their application, but there's nothing to defend against since there's no objection.
Could we request that they are present or not prior to bringing it up? If they're not here, we skip over and try to notice them, because we did say that we wanted them here. So are we gonna shift gears again?
It's not shifting gears in terms of the burden. You
No,
can.
not the burden,
Okay.
but what we put in place when we said we want the applicant here
Mhm.
to present.
Mr. Barham?
Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, and the key point is, once we approve this, right, then it's in the pipeline. And, so we'll be done past the first reading, but we have not heard anything from the applicant, and we don't know the applicant. I mean, we don't know the applicant. If we have questions to the applicant, you couldn't answer the question. Because sometime when we have the applicant here and they're speaking to the project, we can ask questions, but I'm not sure if you can answer the questions we may have. Or speaking on behalf of the applicant, correct?
Well, I would not speak on behalf of the applicant.
Correct.
I
Okay.
will be speaking, on behalf of staff and.
Okay.
And
Well, that would
And the
be my.
information provided
Right.
to, go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
Question, make sure I'm understanding properly, is first reading, applicant not here. We don't have anyone from the public who has any issues here to speak on any issues, so we're not aware of any. So at this point, we're really considering to see if this request is in line with the policy of the city, which according to our city planner, it is. So that's really all we're voting on tonight. Is that correct? Correct. To that point, I move, this is a motion, correct? What I need to do. I move that we accept the recommendation of the city planner.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, motion died due to lack of second.
So can we proceed, Mayor?
Yes. we are going to
By
proceed.
asking, are the property owners, the partial owners here? And you wouldn't have to go through that if they're not here. We could,
Are you asking in a general way to ask if for any of these are the applicant or the representative here for any
Yeah.
of these that are coming up? Is
Say
that what
that.
you're asking me to request? Okay, information. Mr. Gam?
We have reached out to the applicant
Yes.
agent and
Yeah, but nobody is in attendance that is an applicant for any of these items. Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, so some of these are not quasi judicial in nature. Your annexation.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two annexations
Oh, I see that. the
with,
annexation, okay.
with, including future land use amendment and rezoning.
And your,
On both.
right, your future land use amendments, those are quasi legislative in nature, not quasi judicial. So
So we could move
You
forward
can.
now. Okay. So we're on,
Mayor, and commissioners, my suggestion would be that we continue the first reading to the next meeting.
okay,
And then we add a second date, for the
Mhm.
second
okay.
reading.
I think is that.
All the
I think
items.
is what the
See-
commission
see-
is requesting.
So none of them are here.
Okay. And with that said, we should go on to at least cover the annexations that are on this listed.
Right, but-
I think in the same case, Mayor. I don't
Okay,
think
so
they're
we're just
here.
gonna table everything.
All
We're
of-
gonna table
all
all
of
of it.
it.
Okay, that's fine.
So for sake of making sure, again, because I'm trying to learn Attorney West and her facial expressions. What?
He told us.
Yeah, that's why she's an attorney. We're not.
So with making sure that we do things decent and in order, can we make a motion to table public hearing items which items do we,
So I-
A through K?
no, 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 no.
Well,
so
A through
I-
Eighth, everything except I.
items all items excluding I to our next meeting
Well,
The motion would be to continue.
to continue.
Yes.
Yes, please.
well, I got a question here. We also have K is on there as well.
That's the first.
That's the
reading,
first
too?
reading.
Reading where we said.
First
Okay, only
reading,
first reading.
consistent.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll restate my motion for sake of clarity. I make a motion that we continue public hearing excluding item I until our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
Motion a second, all in favor? All in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed? Nay. Okay, on to I. Ordinance
Yeah.
2025-9, accessory dwelling unit ordinance, first reading.
Okay, and planning and I are jointly presenting this. This is a draft, affordable, excuse me, an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. As you may recall from my preview of the legislative bills, this is more than likely going to be mandatory in just a matter of months. The draft ordinance that we have was pulled from the Model Florida Housing Coalition ADU ordinance. The purpose is to address the affordable housing crisis, and basically this would allow accessory dwelling units to be permitted in all single-family districts. There are a lot, if you look at the actual ordinance itself, there are a lot of limitations, and Lorenzo can go into that a little bit in terms of where it would be permissible. There are also affordability requirements that we have worked into the ordinance for your review.
Any questions? No questions? Okay. I'm going to open up the floor for public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment on this item? Seeing none, close public comment. Okay. Do we have a motion? We have a motion, Commissioner Campbell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Davis. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
Thank you.
Which one?
Hmm?
That was.
We were on I. K was included in the tabling to the next one. And we are on to, don't get too happy yet. We're on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Campbell.
I will be very brief. I want to bring before the commission, and I'm quite sure some of you and some of the citizens here may have experienced what I've experienced on several occasions, and to hear my wife experience the same thing with our newborn on her way to a doctor's appointment is very nerve-wracking and scary because I've witnessed it without my children in. But on St. John's and 13th, that new four-way stop sign, there needs to be some kind of better solution to it, because it just became a four-way stop sign. It's always been, if you are coming down St. John's to downtown Palatka, you had the right of way if you were on St. John's. Now it is a four-way stop sign on the corner of 13th Street by the daycare, in that little plaza that sits there. And I've witnessed myself on several occasions almost being hit, and I've witnessed seeing others being almost hit. I think we need to bring a flashing light there, or we need to take that four-way stop sign down.
Okay, and it does sound like a safety issue and that needs to be addressed.
We will follow through.
Anything else, Commissioner Campbell?
That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones?
I don't have any further comments tonight.
Commissioner Bourne?
I just wanted to just add the, what Commissioner Campbell brought up, but just look at the St. John's Avenue as a whole, because we got stop signs, all the way down St. John from the, St. John's and Hudson area, all the way down to the riverfront. So let's look at those. A lot of them weren't there in the past. And so if we need to remove those for the traffic flow to become back, return to normal, that's what would be a recommendation, because again, they were put up temporarily. I don't know, I know some of the projects are completed. So the signs need to be removed as such, because I don't think they were approved initially to go there. They was just temporary there for the whole traffic through the projects.
I'm not certain they were there temporarily, but I will say, as somebody who owns a business and watches the traffic on a daily basis, without those stop signs, when we had lights, if people got all green lights, it was like a speedway. It's still difficult. There is another motivation. People see what businesses are there. If they have to stop at each intersection from an economic point, that's good. But also from a safety perspective, people I think for the most part, have adjusted. I'm not saying it's perfect. They ran red lights too. But I understood them to be permanent. The one on South 13th is new. Maybe there is a bigger issue there because that's a crossways where people try to avoid the train. So I can see where that could be more problematic, but the rest of St. John's, I think we as the merchants, I will speak for us collectively, appreciate the stop signs.
Okay.
And bicyclists do too, as a
Well,
cyclist.
I understand, I'm a major proponent for safety, but again, I think the commission is duties to approve of stop signs being put in place. And I don't recall those being approved. And so that's what I'm saying. They were put up for temporary purposes. And so we need to understand and know where now we have four-way stops or two. We need to know along that whole corridor. That's my ask.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, do you have anything?
Yes, I want to take this in a different turn. As a new commissioner, I had the opportunity today to do some riding with our fire chief, and I learned a lot about our city. I know he's already stepped out. But one of the things that I was triggered, and for the commission to keep in the back of our minds as we this is a proactive request, as we start thinking about how we need to allocate funds in our future, and with all of the requests for growth in our city, that we consider the impact it is going to have on our public safety departments. You know, more houses, more townhouses, more potential for fires. So as we're considering this growth and things are building, let's also consider we need to reallocate funds to cover it accordingly, because all of us said our number one priority is public safety. So I want us to keep that in our forefront, because it's never just anything in isolation. So
I
thank
agree.
you.
And the impact, that was one of the reasons why we reinstated the impact fees. It's not the only solution, but it was certainly a step in the right direction that took a while to happen. And I also think we're going to have to look at some of our ordinances to make sure that we're doing growth in a positive and planful way. And that certainly has to be considered.
Right. For many, many years, it was fault not to impose the impact fee. So we had it, and we had 179,000, and we had another 200. Yeah, so we've been getting. Yeah.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay.
Oh, we did a neglect